Everyone sees the AI boom on the surface. Nvidia at 4 trillion, record capex, GPUs selling out faster than they can be manufactured. But underneath that smooth story, three major shocks just hit the market at the same time. SoftBank walked away from $6 billion of Nvidia stock. Google launched its most aggressive attack yet on Nvidia's hardware dominance. And Meta, one of Nvidia's biggest customers, is now considering spending billions to move part of its AI training away from Nvidia entirely. Most people will treat these as separate events. They're not. They point to a deep shift in the AI cycle that almost nobody sees coming. Let's start with SoftBank. SoftBank's Nvidia exit isn't cleanly bullish or bearish. SoftBank has been both the genius and the warning story for 2 decades. They spotted Alibaba before the world understood the internet. Then they lost 98% of their value in the dot-com crash. They created ARM. They fueled WeWork. And yes, they already sold Nvidia too early once, back in 2019. So no. SoftBank is not a compass. They're a participant. But that's exactly why their exit still matters. SoftBank rarely leaves the loudest part of a trade unless they believe the real opportunity, or the real danger, has moved somewhere quieter. And the quiet part today is the hardware war happening under the AI narrative. That brings us to Google. For years, Google's TPUs were something you rented inside Google Cloud. Now Google wants TPUs running inside your data center, inside Meta's data centers, inside banks, hedge funds, and high-frequency trading shops. If that sounds small, it isn't. This is the first serious attempt in years to challenge Nvidia's dominance in training, not just inference. Google is so serious about this shift that it's offering to backstop a partner's New York data center lease with $3.2 billion just to get more TPUs deployed globally. And Meta is listening. Meta is in talks to spend billions to deploy TPUs in its own facilities by 2027 and rent even more from Google Cloud next year. That's the kind of diversification that cracks open a monopoly, and Nvidia knows it. Every time a rumor emerges about Anthropic or OpenAI or Meta testing TPUs, Nvidia responds instantly with billion-dollar investments, long-term GPU supply deals, and tailored data center packages. For years, analysts believed nobody could challenge Nvidia's lead in training large models. But Google's latest TPUs, combined with Gemini 3, are changing that assumption. And this is where the story becomes system-level. SoftBank. Moving out of Nvidia isn't a prediction. It's a reflection. It shows you the loudest part of the AI trade is maturing. Google pushing aggressively into hardware isn't a coincidence. It's what happens when capex demand gets so large that companies look for alternatives out of necessity. Meta exploring billions in non-Nvidia chips isn't anti-Nvidia, it's self-preservation. Because the bottleneck isn't ideas, it's compute, it's power, it's supply. And in the background, there's China. China is watching this shift from a very different position. They can't buy high-end Nvidia chips directly anymore. They're being forced to scale domestic hardware at a pace that is brutally difficult. So when Google pushes TPUs into the global market, and Meta considers billions of non-Nvidia spend, China sees something important. The global AI compute race may not be Nvidia or nothing. That doesn't solve China's access problem, but it buys them time. Every dollar Meta spends on TPUs is a dollar not chasing scarce Nvidia supply. Every crack in Nvidia's monopoly gives Huawei's Ascend chips more room to grow domestically. And if the global AI hardware world fragments, Nvidia GPUs, Google TPUs, custom chips, domestic Chinese stacks, then China is no longer competing in a single bottlenecked race. That is a structural shift, not a headline. So step back and look at the full picture. SoftBank rotates out of the loudest part of the AI trade. Google attacks the deepest part of Nvidia's moat. Meta explores the first serious alternative in years. Nvidia defends the throne aggressively. China quietly benefits from the fragmentation. This isn't a story about one sale or one chip. This is the first real sign that the AI hardware cycle, the one that determines everything else, is entering its next phase. This is Global Notes by JP. If you found this helpful, comment, like, share, and hit the bell. We're building the strongest macro community on the platform, one signal at a time, together.